Hollywood has produced countless memorable on-screen duos, but behind the scenes, those seemingly perfect pairs don't always get along. Join facts first as we pull back the curtain on the intense rivalries, unexpected clashes, and simmering conflicts that turned co-stars into reluctant adversaries. Bette Davis and Joan Crawford. The notorious feud between classic Hollywood legends Bette Davis and Joan Crawford has become the stuff of Hollywood lore. Davis and Crawford were two of the biggest female stars of cinema's golden age, with larger-than-life personalities to match. But their bitter rivalry began years before they faced off in their most famous film together, Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. The bad blood started when Crawford swooped in to steal Davis's boyfriend, French Tone, right from under her. Davis had fallen hard for her dangerous co-star Tone in 1935, but Crawford seduced him away and married him that same year, devastating Davis. Crawford cruelly taunted that Bette never had a happy day or night in her life. This betrayal cemented their hatred for each other. The legendary animosity came to a head when the two volatile stars signed on to co-star in the 1962 psychological thriller Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Both were known to play malicious pranks on set and regularly complained about each other to the director. During filming, Davis put weights in her clothes for a scene where Crawford had to drag her body, trying to injure her back. The feud hit its peak when only Davis got an Oscar nod for Baby Jane, but Crawford campaigned to accept the award from all the other nominees if they won. So when Anne Bancroft beat Davis, Crawford gleefully swept on stage to collect the Oscar on Bancroft's behalf. Debbie Reynolds and Elizabeth Taylor. A friendly rivalry between two of Hollywood's biggest actresses turned ugly and bitter when Elizabeth Taylor had an affair with Debbie's husband. Reynolds and Taylor had been close friends in the 50s, but that changed dramatically when Taylor fell for Reynolds' husband, singer Eddie Fisher. Reynolds and Fisher were married with 2 young children. Just after Taylor's husband, Mike Todd, died in a plane crash, Fisher came to comfort the grieving widow. Soon after, Taylor and Fisher began an affair which created an enormous tabloid scandal. Reynolds felt deeply betrayed by her friend stealing her husband and breaking up her family. Time eventually healed some wounds after Richard Burton entered Taylor's life. Reynolds and Taylor reconnected in the 70s, reaching a truce. Shia LaBeouf and Tom Hardy. Shia LaBeouf and Tom Hardy infamously clashed in epic fashion while filming the 2012 bootlegging drama Lawless. The two intense method actors allowed their artistic temperaments to combust on set. LaBeouf's notoriously erratic and provocative behavior severely tested Hardy's patience during filming. Tensions finally reached a boiling point one day when the pair's drama escalated into a physical fight. Hardy later admitted that LaBeouf had legitimately knocked him out cold during the altercation and described LaBeouf as a bad boy. He also added that Shia was quite intimidating and a scary dude, but Hardy didn't press charges or try to get LaBeouf kicked off the film, and LaBeouf managed to refrain from any more assaults on his co-stars. Vivian Vance and William Frawley. Television legends Vivian Vance and William Frawley portrayed adorable married couple Ethel and Fred Mertz for 9 seasons on the iconic I Love Lucy. But away from the cameras, the two stars absolutely despised each other. Vance deeply resented being cast as the wife of a man over 20 years her senior. At 39, she still considered herself a young, glamorous starlet and struggled to see the then 64-year-old Frawley as a romantic lead. When Frawley overheard her complaining about their age gap, he called her a derogatory name in retaliation. From then on, they had a mutual hatred throughout the show's entire 9-season run. They kept their feud tightly under wraps to avoid damaging the show's popularity. Somehow, Vance and Frawley were able to be consummate professionals once on set. The chemistry between their endearing characters jumped off the screen as they perfectly portrayed a quarrelsome but loving married couple. Off-camera, they continued despising each other in private. I Love Lucy fans were none the wiser that Fred and Ethel could barely tolerate being in the same room together. Ingrid Bergman and Humphrey Bogart. Classic cinema icons Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman generated legendary on-screen chemistry as Rick and Ilsa in Casablanca. But behind the scenes, the two had zero rapport. During filming, Bogart and Bergman reportedly tried to have lunch together one afternoon. But they quickly found they had absolutely nothing to talk about besides their mutual dislike of the film itself and a wish to be doing other projects. Away from the cameras, Bogart and Bergman barely interacted, but whenever the director called action, they both embodied their characters flawlessly. They managed to put aside their complete indifference towards one another and create one of the most iconic romances in movie history through sheer professionalism. Not even the greatest scripts and staging can manufacture the kind of instant movie magic Bogart and Bergman conjured up on screen. That lightning in a bottle connection between the co-stars flowed from their collective talent and commitment to the work itself, not any personal affection for each other. Jennifer Aniston and Jay Mohr. Rom-com queen Jennifer Aniston reportedly clashed with her picture-perfect co-star Jay Mohr in 1997. Aniston was unhappy that Mohr had been cast as her love interest instead of her real-life boyfriend Tate Donovan. Rather than take out her frustrations on the studio, Aniston apparently directed them towards Mohr. She gave him the cold shoulder for stealing a role she wanted for Donovan. This created a tense, awkward working dynamic between the leads, expected to generate on-screen sparks. But somehow they were able to overcome the behind-the-scenes chill and produce convincing chemistry as the pair at the heart of this lighthearted romantic comedy. Audiences would never guess from their cute banter and easy rapport that the co-stars were feuding off-camera. Abbott and Lou Costello. The legendary duo of Abbott and Costello entertained audiences for years with their rapid-fire routines and hilarious chemistry. But privately, the partners nurtured growing animosity and distrust, especially on Costello's part. Costello struggled with increasing paranoia and bitterness as the act's popularity skyrocketed. He accused Abbott of being cheap and mistreating him financially. By 1945, the former friends refused to speak to each other off-camera except when absolutely necessary. Yet Abbott and Costello never let their private contempt infect their wildly successful professional partnership. They continued performing together for another dozen years. Charlie Sheen and Sean Young. Hot young stars Charlie Sheen and Sean Young famously clashed during the filming of the 1987 smash Wall Street. Their off-screen animosity manifested in Sheen cruelly pranking his co-star. Sheen thought it would be funny to place a horribly offensive sign on Young's back without her knowledge. The mean-spirited joke understandably hurt and outraged Young. On top of that, she also frequently argued with director Oliver Stone about creative choices. Yet somehow, Sheen and Young prevented their personal distaste for each other from affecting their work. When the cameras rolled, they generated powerful on-screen chemistry as the ambitious, ill-fated lovers Bud Fox and Darian. Now it's time to hear from you. Which one of these feuds were you surprised to hear about? Let us know in the comments section below.